Good morning. This is the devotion for Tuesday, May 12th. I'm continuing looking at just incredible stories of faith that we have in the Bible. Yesterday we looked at the first story of faith when Jacob wrestled with God and got the name Israel. And we talked about things that we wrestle with when we have decisions to make, or we have things that we're kind of uncertain about. Cling to God when you're doing that. Today we're looking at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from the book of Daniel. Before we get into the specific verse, I need to set this up a little bit. You know, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel were at Babylonian University. They had been taken away from their homeland in Jerusalem and Israel, and they were in captivity. But in captivity, they weren't actually being treated as slaves. They were being trained to become good Babylonian citizens. So they were being trained in all the arts and sciences and all the ways of Babylonian society. They dressed like Babylonians, they were probably encouraged to speak like Babylonians, and they ate like Babylonians. Well, not Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and Daniel. In fact, they asked the people who were responsible for caring for them to get them different food. That's where they chose to take their stand. See, they would wear different clothes. That was fine. They might even speak a different language and learn their studies and be respectful to those in authority over them. But there was a point in time where they drew the line. And interestingly enough, when they drew the line with regards to what they were eating, they became healthier. And in the little tests that they did for the people who were supposed to be taking care of them, God showed that as they sought to be faithful, God was going to be faithful and be with them. But then as time went on, the king kind of went a little crazy, and he built this huge statue of himself. And he had this rule that whenever all the trumpets and bells and everything went off, everybody was supposed to bow to his statue. Well, it was time for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to draw another line and say, we're not going to go past this line. And now the penalty for not bowing down to the statue was that they would be thrown into a fiery furnace. Not killed first, but thrown in alive. A really gruesome death. And they were brought before the king, and the king gave them a choice. Either bow down before me, or be thrown into the furnace. And they refused. Well, they refused, but they refused based on their faith. They refused based on who they were actually following. And here's where that comes into play. Nebuchadnezzar is just spitting mad that they won't bow down, and here's their response. They answered the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from being burnt in the fiery furnace. And he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image you have set up." So we have two different things that are happening here. We have Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego saying, we know that our God is greater. We are not going to bow down to a false god. We also know that our God has the power to save us from your punishment. But they acknowledged that God might not. But they said, even if God doesn't, we're not going to bow down to you. Man, I pray for that kind of faith. That I trust that God's going to be with. That I trust that God's going to deliver me. But even if he doesn't deliver me, I'm not going to bow down to all the various gods of this world. Now, there's a lot of stuff within our culture that as Christians we kind of roll with. We decide we're not going to die on every hill. There's some arguments we're not going to have. And that's okay, because arguments aren't the way to share the love of Jesus Christ with someone. But here's the thing. Where do we take our stand? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego chose to take it in what they ate and what they worshipped. Now, we don't have huge golden idols that we set up and have to bow down at every time the horns and bells go off. But we do have a lot of stuff other than God we put our faith in to save us. Now, I don't want to dismiss science as not being a valuable gift that God has given us within our creation. But let's remember, science is part of God's creation. Science isn't the God that so much of what I've seen on TV, on the news, and in commentaries has set it up to be. We need to put our faith in the God of creation, not in a part of creation. We need to not bow down to the false idols of this world and take a stand. And have faith that as we stand up for Jesus and the truth that He has died for our sins so we can be with God forever, God will be with us. And God will deliver us. Maybe not from every conflict that we face, but we have the assurance of eternity in heaven with God. So as you think about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, realize that in foreign culture, there's some things you do in the culture, but there's also some opportunities for you to take a stand for your faith, for your God. Where can you take a stand to stand up for God and stop bowing down to idols? That's just something to think about today. Hope you guys have a great day. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. And my cameraman has gone someplace else, so I'm going to get up and push the stop button. Have a great day, y'all.